let's try that again. That's better. I'd pressed one of the buttons on the side of my phone as I plugged it into my holder, and it meant that it was the wrong way round. So I figured we'd stop and start again before we even started. So apologies if you clicked on to the first one that lasted all of 30 seconds. Let's try again with a fresh Facebook Live. So welcome. Had a busy old day today. I'm off on holiday for a week at the weekend, but as you know, with any work and things that you do, when you go on holiday, there's always a whole pile of things to do before you go. And I know last year I was up until, excuse me, wobbling the camera, until some really silly o'clock in the morning the night before I went. So I'm hoping to be able to avoid that this time, but there are still things I need to get done. But I still wanted to come in and say hello to you. So I'm hoping to be able to, one of the things I want to get done tomorrow is a couple of videos that I will then set to go live next week. So you won't necessarily have me going live on Monday morning and Thursday afternoon, but hopefully there will be something that will be posting at those times. So some videos with a product of the week. So it'll almost be as if I'm here, only I won't be. And we won't be able to have any live chat. So make the most of that this week. If you're here, pop on, say hello, tell me what you're up to, what you've been busy doing this week, today or this week. And we'll get going in a second with having a bit of more of a play with this beautiful Perennial Essence Suite. And I've got a cup of tea, which I think I might well need. I've just thrown together a sausage plat for tea. So that's in the oven waiting to come on. So the Perennial Essence Suite. Before we do that, let me just highlight a couple of things that are coming up, because of course in my head today I've been doing lots of admin-y things and those sorts of things. I've sent out some reminders to anybody that's expressed an interest in the retreat, that you can go online, go onto my website www.loveaduckie.co.uk, and you're able to book any classes and things online now, but you can certainly go on and pay your deposit to secure your place at the retreat that happens on the 19th of October. If you've never heard anything about my all-day retreats, they literally are all day. I am there from 9:30, well, I'm there from before, but the doors are open from 9:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. I provide food and snacks and drinks and goodies for you the entire day. You can bring your own projects to work on. I have lots of things there that you can work on, so I will do some samples and things that you can work on. I will bring lots of other things. I basically decamp my craft room. I bring all my inks, my stamps, my dies, all the current ink, stamps, dies, embossing folders, ribbons, papers, anything that I've got, cardstock, I bring with me, and I bring lots of inspiration. So you can be doing Christmassy things, you can be doing non-Christmassy things. It's in a beautiful setting in Wadno Village Hall, which is a lovely little village set in down alongside the river in Northamptonshire. So you can go off for a walk from there. There's beautiful walks round about, so you can take yourself off for a walk. You can just sit with your feet up. What you do with your day is entirely up to you, because it is about it being your day, your crafty getaway. So we look after you. We make sure that you are fed, that you are watered, that there are lots of treats, that you have everything you need. There's no washing up to do, and there's lots of crafty inspiration. So do come and join us for that. The cost for the entire day, including all your food and everything else, is £90, and that does include a £50 goodie bag of brand new product that you get as part of the deal. So it is a fabulous value day, and people that have come on them before have really valued them and come back. So do get your name down for that. Come and join us on Saturday 19th of October. In September, I've got my big Christmas card buffet. This is something else that people tend to really enjoy. So for the big Christmas card buffet, this is Saturday the 21st of September at Great Dodgington Memorial Hall. The cost for this day is £35, and your kit includes one of these stamp sets. So you get to take home one of these choices of stamp sets. So we've got the penguins there, we've got this lovely snowfall set that you can build up scenes with, you've got the little hashtag Elfie, you've got this beautiful one with all these nature sort of animals, deer and rabbits and foxes, and you've got the bells. Now you can choose to add the dies to your bell set, and then the bundle, the cost of the day is a little bit more. I think it's £54 if you have the die and the stamp set bundle, but you get to choose which of those stamp sets you take home with you. Obviously I need to know that in advance because I need to order them, and then what I do is I make up at least 4 projects with each of these stamp sets, so that instantly means you've got 20 projects to choose from. Quite often I throw in a bonus one as well that isn't on here. So you get a lot of choice of lots, a whole buffet full of cards to choose from, and you can choose which of those you do. So you can do 2 of one, 3 of another, 5 of one and 2 of another. It's entirely up to you. That's why it's called a buffet. It's a bit like picking going to a wedding, and when the buffet comes out, you're going along and deciding you want 2 sausage rolls, 3 chicken nuggets, a samosa, whatever it is that you want. You pick and choose from what's on offer, from the spread that is on offer, and that is how the Christmas card buffet works. There is a spread on offer and you pick and choose from the spread that's on offer. So if you would like to join us on the 21st of September, as I say, that class is £35. Do let me know. Again, you can go onto my website, and if you go onto the events calendar and click on the 21st of September, it will bring you up a page where you can click choose the option of what stamp set you want, click on that, and you can actually pay on the website. Obviously you can still get in touch with me if that's something that you're not comfortable with, or you haven't got a computer or any of those sorts of things. You can still just get in touch with me. But that's 2 big events that are coming up, the big Christmas card buffet and the retreat. Hence why I need a holiday to build up my muscles ready to come back and get cracking with those. But before we go on holiday, we're going to have a bit more of a play with this Perennial suite. Now, both cards today are a little bit unusual and have something in common. So let me just dig about. I've got a basket full of bits here. I don't think I need that to clipboard. We can move that to one side. Actually, before we do that, let's just grab this paper. So if you weren't with me on Monday morning, the Perennial Essence Suite consists of a stamp set, which is this stamp set here with these lovely flowers on. So you've got a range of flowers from these. These obviously stamp whatever colour you ink them up, that's what colour they stamp in. You've got those leaves, you've got these leaves here that coordinate with the leaf punch, and then you've got this strange looking propeller type flower here that actually coordinates with a punch, which is also part of the bundle, and you can stamp those and punch them out and create beautiful flowers, beautiful 3D flowers. And somewhere, I think in the bottom of this basket, yes, is the card that we created on Monday morning. So here it is, and you can see that we stamped and punched on some coloured vellum, which is also part of this bundle to create that 3D flower. So you've got your stamp set, you've got your punch, you've got some beautiful papers that I'll flick through in a minute. You've got some vellum cardstock, so the vellum that we stamped on just here, you get 12 by 12 sheets, 3 of which are so saffron, 3 of which are petal pink, and 3 of which are old olive, and they make beautiful well, you can see the colour on there, that you get this sort of hint of colour shining through, just really subtle, really pretty. So that vellum is really lovely. You've got some striped ribbon, which is this ribbon just here, so this petal pink organza striped ribbon, and then you get these really fun floral centres. So that's what you get in the suite of products, and as with all of our suites in our catalogue, if you come to the top here, there is one number, and if you wish to, you can put that number in to order and you will get everything that's in that bundle. But the absolutely piece de resistance with this bundle, with this suite, is the paper. It is stunning. It is sort of watercolour impressionist style, and if you saw my post yesterday, you'd have seen the story behind it, of one of the designers, and of how one of her earliest memories is of being given a water lily by Monet notebook, and how when she was designing this paper she went along and saw some Monet artwork at the art gallery, and how that has inspired her to create these papers, and they are just beautiful and very different in colours. So you've got this really sort of almost spring-like one, and then you've got like this really quite dark and moody one that's just beautiful colours. Another sort of spring-like. This one has got little daisies in, but almost looks like little sort of like a galaxy, almost stars, but it actually is little daisies that are in there. It's a pretty one, isn't it? It's lovely green background, and we used a little bit of that on Monday. This one is the one that sort of is probably most like the water lilies, and then you've got a petal pink background there. So really beautiful papers. And if you do love your DSP, if you do love your designer series papers, there is an offer coming up on the papers starting on the 4th of September, so next week. So it is going to be another, there's a list of papers that are included, and it's going to be like we've had it in the past, buy 3 packs of DSP and get your 4th pack for free. So that's certainly, if you like your DSP, is worth looking out for. So yeah, we did use that sort of water lily type card just there, and we ran it through the sort of embossing folder to give it that sort of canvasy type finish on there. Got that striped paper. So that was our card we did on Monday. As I say, today's cards are going to be a little bit different. So let me just move some of these out the way, and let me just move my catalogue out of the way for now. Let's pick up my basket. Now, as I said, but these cards are a little bit different. They're different shaped cards, but they have something in common, and the thing that they have in common is the stitched labels dies. I love these stitched labels dies. These, of course, belong in a bundle with that free as a bird stamp set, but there's no reason why you can't buy them just on their own if that's all you want. If you don't want the bird stamp set, you just want the dies, you can get them individually. But that's where they come in a bundle. They come in a bundle with that free as a bird set. And I have used them to make a couple of different shaped cards. Now, my inspiration for my first card was this little card here. And I've had this little card hanging around for quite a long time because these dies have been retired quite a long time. We no longer stock these label dies. But this was made by a lady called Rebecca Chivers. And I had it as a swap, going back, as I say, sometime when I went to an onstage event. So I looked at that and I thought, well, let's see if we could make something similar using the stitch label dies. Now, obviously, the biggest stitch label die isn't as big as that, so it is going to be a smaller card. But I've got lots of scribbled measurements written down. So for both of these cards, I've taken as my starting point the largest stitched frame in this stitch frame collection. So here we have our card base, and I've created this card base, and the measurements are a little bit odd just because of the way of the size of the labels. You have to go with the size of the labels. So what I've taken is a strip of Blackberry Bliss card that measures 25.25 centimetres, and what I'll do, I will write these cards up on a blog post, and I will link the blog post onto my Facebook page. Hopefully they'll be up for in the morning, and so you can see how these are done, and I'll give you all the measurements and things. So 25.25 centimetres long by 6.7 centimetres wide. And then what I've done is I've scored it at 6.25 centimetres. And the reason it's 6.25 centimetres is that the length of the die was actually 12.5. So half of 12.5 is obviously 6.25. So 6.25 centimetres is this bit. Then this bit, I've scored it again at 9.5 centimetres, at 15.75 centimetres, and at 19 centimetres. So as I say, I'll write those measurements up on my blog post. So that was where the lines are scored. And then to get the shaped ends, all I've done is I've taken, as I say, the largest of the dies, and I've laid it. I lay my piece of card, obviously my piece of card was square at this point, so I laid my piece of card so that the edges sat on these cut lines. So you've got your two dotty lines and you've got your cut line at the centre. So I wanted the cards to sit on that cut line on either side and sit so the end of the card was just above this cut line just here. And then when I ran it through the big shot, let me just get my plates out. When I ran it through the big shot, I had my die sort of sitting like this with the square bit on the top, and I just wanted it to cut up to that bit. So that is the only bit that I covered with the top plate. So where I wanted it to cut, I covered with the top plate. The rest of it wasn't covered, and that means that was the only piece that had enough pressure for that die to cut. This bit, there wasn't any pressure as it ran through, and so that didn't cut. And then I did exactly the same with the other end. Laid my card where I wanted it and just lay the top plate so it only, let's go the right way, lay my top plate so that it only covered the piece I wanted to cut. Now actually I have gone a little bit further than that. I've gone about like that because I've also got the stitching. So take it up to that first score line and then you'll get your stitching up to that first score line. So I don't know whether you can see, but on here you've got your stitched line here as well up to that first score line. So if you leave your plate so that it goes up to that score line, then it will cut up to that score line. So if ever you want to do partial die cutting, all you do is you just make sure that only the bit that you want to cut has got the two plates. Anywhere that hasn't got the two plates, there won't be enough pressure for it to cut. I mean, you could just wind it through and just sort of think that's far enough and then wind it back, but at least with this way you have made the decision where you want that cut-off point before you even start running it through. So that's how I created those two pointy ends, by partially die cutting both ends. So there we have. What you need to do then is fold it so that you can tell which is the right side and which is the wrong side on your dotted edge, on your stitched edge. You want your right side facing up this way with this panel sort of popped upwards, if you like. So there's our strip. Everything else is just really, apart from the little side panels, is just die cut. So this is the next stitch shape down that I've just cut from some blueberry bushel, and here's the next die down again that I've used to cut out a piece of the designer series paper. And then I've got a couple more bits. I've got one of the smaller dies, so not quite the smallest, the third up, and this is the second up, so this isn't the smallest either. So this is the next one up, so not the smallest, but the next one up, and then that's the one up from that. And I've die cut those two pieces and they're going to be used. I've already stamped the hello on that one, but we're going to stamp our image on that one. And then I've just got a couple of side panels and these were 3 centimetres wide. Just check that. Yeah, 3 centimetres wide by 6 centimetres long. So that was just 1/4 of a centimetre smaller on each side. And then we took this paper down a little bit longer again. That's 2 3/4 by actually 5 1/2 that way. So just to make those little panels, and I've already done a bit of stamping on that panel, but we've got our other panel to stamp onto. So let's put this little card together. I'm going to find my snail, and let's put a bit of snail on the back of this designer series paper, and we'll put that onto our mat. Oh, somebody's having fun. Like that, and then we will stick that onto this top panel just here, like that. And then these side panels, all I've done for that side panel is I've taken my stamp set and I've taken the larger of these leaves. Let's find a block, and I've taken some Mossy Meadow ink. Now if ever you're wondering what colours there are in these designer series papers, obviously you can look out in your catalogues and that will list the different colours, but also if you go onto the back of the paper pack, if you have a look here, it tells you Balmy Blue, Blackberry Bliss, Blueberry Bushel, Calypso Coral, Crushed Curry, Flirty Flamingo, Mossy Meadow, Old Olive, Petal Pink, So Saffron and Whisper White. So it lists all the colours on the back of your paper pack. So we know that Mossy Meadow is one of those colours that's in there. Let's try picking that up again. So all I did was on these side panels, and this obviously is going the other way than the other one, was I just stamped those leaves a couple of times, and then I took a blender pen and I just used that to drag the colour out a little bit. So nothing very fancy, just a little bit of colour added in there. So then we will stick those panels, the white panels, to our blue. So this is Blueberry Bushel, the same as our stitched framelit, and then we'll stick those on these side pieces just here. And that's like that. And then for our little flower on the top, let me take that off for a moment. I'm going to take the smaller of these solid flower images and some Blackberry Bliss. We got a mat somewhere? Yes, we have. Let's put this in here. Hi Wendy, hi Sarah. Let's just stamp this solid flower on there, like that. And I'll get the little block and we'll add in our flower centre. Now we've used this flower So the flower centre is that we need is the one that looks a little bit like a fan, because each of these flowers, so that one there where looks like it's got a little bit nibbled out is the centre for this one, and then this more circular centre is the centre for this one. So we want the fan shaped centre, which is this one here, and I'm going to use a bit of Mango Melody for my flower centre. So let's just open that up, and you can see how that just fits beautifully in the middle of that flower and really makes it pop and come to life. Oh, and I've obviously got a bit of that on my finger. So I'm now going to take the tiny leaf. So we've used the bigger leaf on the side panels. We're going to use the smaller leaf on the inside. So let's have a couple of leaves going this way. So, do you know, time ran away with me today as well. In fact, poor Mike walked in from work and I went, oh no. And he sort of looked at me. I went, oh no, I didn't mean oh no that you've just walked in. I meant oh no, because I really thought it was, you know, 4:30, not 5:30. So then I am charging around like a lunatic, trying to get some dinner in the oven, or some dinner ready to go in the oven, because that was supposed to all be done. That was all in my head, but it didn't happen. So there we go. We've stamped our little flower, the little centre in yellow, and then we've just added in those little leaves, and again we've dragged the colour out. So I've done that again in Mossy Meadow and dragged that colour out with a blender pen. So let's find our little card. And we'll have our little so I think what we'll do is we will put a little floral image on flat down there, and then we'll take some dimensionals for our hello. Is it me you're looking for? Take the backs off of those, and we'll have that. Now the hello greeting actually comes from the Magnolia suite. Good morning, Magnolia. And there we are. It's just a really lovely curly font, isn't it, that hello? So the other thing I've got here is I've got some of the Mossy Meadow twine. Now this actually comes from the trying to think which suite it comes from. It actually comes from the Magnolia Lane suite. So it's the Magnolia Ribbon Combo Pack. So in the combo pack you get this Mossy Meadow linen thread, and you also get this sort of linen ribbon, this sort of really neutral linen ribbon with the white edges, which is really lovely, really useful. But we've just got, and I'm getting right to the end, as you can see, my spool needs some more. So I thought I'd tie my bow earlier to save me a bit of time, but that I'd leave it on there so it didn't get lost. So I'll now cut it off. I need to get some more of that. I do love linen thread. We had a old olive linen thread in the spring summer occasions catalogue last year. But this one is a Mossy Meadow. So let's add that on there. Now I'm thinking perhaps we'll have some shinies of some sort on there. Let's find some little rhinestones. And we'll just add a few of those in, scattered around. So obviously, as I say, this is just a dinky little card, very cute, but it would need to create an envelope. Now there's lots of tutorials on YouTube about creating envelopes, or you may be lucky enough to have had one of the retired envelope punch boards. So if you do, you need an envelope that's going to be 12.5 centimetres long by 7 centimetres wide, or approximately 5 inches by 2 3/4 inches, I think that's it. So yeah, you need to make yourself a little envelope to match your card, but just a little different shape. So the card that I was inspired from, say, obviously is a slightly bigger card, but that was that one. But we've taken it and used our Perennial suite to create this little one. So just a fun fold, really, just something a little bit different. And obviously you could use your stitched rectangles. You could make a bigger card with your stitched rectangles. You could do a similar thing with stitched rectangles. Any of your shaped dies that you've got, you can have a play with. And we're going to have a similar play with stitched rectangles on our next card. So this time, again, I've started out with that biggest stitched die. And this time we're going to create a little easel card. Now, in order to make shaped easel cards, what you need to do is, again, I've taken that largest of those dies, and I've taken a piece of card that measured 14.9 centimetres by 13.5 centimetres, and I scored it in half. So the 13.5 centimetres was this way, so I folded it in half along the 13.5 centimetre section. And then the easel card, so what I've done with this is, what you need to do is you need to have your fold, and you need to place your fold so it is just under the cut line on your die, because you don't want your die to cut it. You want it to cut these edges, but you don't want it to cut that edge. So you need to place your fold of your card just under the cut line on your die, and then run that through your machine, and then you get this, and then you fold the top half in half, and then you take another piece of card and you die cut yourself another piece that's exactly the same, only this time it's a full piece. So what we're going to do is we are going to attach that die cut to this half, this folded half of the card, and then that will form our easel card like this. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just put some snail on just this bottom. You don't need it on the top, you just want it on this bottom section just here. And then let's just place that on there. And there we have our easel card. Now obviously we're going to need to create a stopper to stop it sliding, but we have that in hand. We'll do that in one moment. So the next thing I've done is I've taken some of the designer series paper. So my card base, so my easel card, I've cut out a Flirty Flamingo. So we've gone for a very different colourway than we did before. So we've got a Flirty Flamingo die base, and then again taking the next die down, I've die cut 2 pieces of designer series paper, and this time I've used this sort of really spring-like daisy print. So let's go ahead and stick this down, and you can see that the daisy print on one side is very different from the sort of purples and blues and greens on the other. But this time we're going to have a sort of almost spring-like feel to this card. So we'll have a piece of that paper on the top and a piece on the bottom. Then to create our stopper, what I've done, I've stamped one of the greetings from the stamp set that says wishing you a blissful future, and I've stamped it in Flirty Flamingo onto some petal pink, and then I've given that a petal pink mat and a So Saffron mat. And what we will do is we will attach that to the base of our card, and I've cut them on an angle either end. So we will take some dimensionals to give it a little bit of height. Hello Charlotte. And we will put that onto our card base just there, like that. So now we have a stopper to help our card to stand upright. There we go. So now we want some things to put on here. So this time I thought I would take some of these big flower. So this big flower image, and I've actually stamped the centre bit already in crushed curry, and then what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've coloured it with some stamping blends. So let's grab the stamping blends that I've used. Here they are. I used So Saffron, so this is one of the new colours that they brought out in stamping blends that are in their annual catalogue. I've got Petal Pink, so I've got the combo of the So Saffron, the combo of the Petal Pink, and I've just got the light Calypso Coral. So those are the colours I've got. Let me move this vellum to one side for a minute. We'll come back to that in a second. So as I say, we've got our Calypso, our crushed curry in the middle. So now we're going to take our dark So Saffron, and just coming out from that crushed curry in the middle, I'm going to take that dark So Saffron sort of along where these lines are. So coming out from the middle, and then just along these lines. And then I'm going to take the light So Saffron and sort of bring that out a little bit further, blending in that dark So Saffron as I go. And then I'm going to take some, I'm going to take the light Calypso Coral, and I'm going to go right round the edge of the flower, so sort of on the right on the edge of the petals. I'm going to go round with some of the light Calypso Coral. And it will look a bit odd at the moment. On that tip just there, and then I'm going to take the dark Petal Pink, and I'm going to come in a little bit from that edge, sort of going over the dark coral, the light coral, as well as bringing that pink in a little bit more. And you will find that if you turn this over, you will see where the ink saturates the card, and you do need it to do that, so the alcohol in the pens is blending the pigments together, so the pigment from the two cards colours is blending together as you work your way over it. You also don't want to do too big an area, because you don't want it, you want it to sort of stay damp, so stay wet, so that it blends better, because if it starts to dry out it doesn't blend quite so well. So you're better off, I perhaps should have done just sort of half of this at a time, but I think may have got away with it. And then I'm going to take the light petal pink, and this time I'm going to take the brush end. Thank you, Wendy. You yourself are an artist, so I'm sure that you would be more than happy to sit and play and colour with these. And obviously if you were doing this at home yourself, you might take a bit more time than I'm doing really. But just as you take that colour over the top, and you're sort of almost bringing it all in together, using the lighter pen to blend the coral into the pink and the pink into the yellow. So what you get is sort of like shading, the different shading, but you don't get any lines, it's sort of all merged in together. So there's our second flower. So I've got, here's one I've done earlier. So where's my one I've done earlier? Somewhere there's one I've done earlier. So there's two pink flowers that we're going to use. And I have got one little leaf, but we're going to need some more leaves. So this is actually stamped onto the old olive vellum using old olive ink. And the leaf stamp that I've just thrown on the floor. Not quite, thrown it on the side instead. Let's move those to one side. So here we are, here's our little leaf stamp, and we're going to ink that up. Made a mess of that, Helen. The stamp moved and I managed to ink everything but. Got inky fingers. Let's try that once more with feeling, shall we? Let's actually ink the stamp this time. And I think we'll stamp. Hello, Sheila. I think we'll stamp a couple of those. And then, digging about in our basket, we should have a leaf punch. So we can just line those up. In there, stamp one. And stamp two. Now you can actually see I actually stamped that one on the other side of the vellum. One side of the vellum is actually slightly paler than the other. I think I like the ones I've just done better actually, because you do get a bit more of a contrast with them. That's all right, we'll use all of them. We'll have a bit of contrasting vellum going on in our card. Let me just tuck this basket behind me on my chair for a minute to give myself a bit of room. So here we have our card. We have a couple of flowers. We have our vellum leaves. Now, I was wondering earlier whether to add some ribbon into the mix, and I've picked out some very different ribbons. So we've got the striped ribbon that we used on Monday, which is the one that is part of the bundle. So we could have a little bit of that going on somewhere. I've also picked out as a complete contrast the crushed curry crinkled seam binding. So we could have some yellow, or we could go for this petal pink combination just there. What are your thoughts? What are we thinking? Do we want stripy, petal pink, or are we going to go completely different and go crushed curry? What do you think we should have? Any thoughts on which ribbon we should go for? Wendy thinks we should have yellow. Sarah thinks the petal pink. Is both complete madness? No. Let's go for a bit of both, shall we? Let's keep everybody happy and have both a piece of petal pink and a piece of crushed curry. So let's cut the length of both, and we'll grab a little bit of let's get a bit of tear and tape just to attach that down on the card just there. Obviously once we put the flowers on, we'll be none the wiser that that is there. So I think we'll raise these up with a bit of dimensionals. Where have they gone? Look how this one's really, you can really see how that's the back of that flower, how that ink has really soaked in. But that's what we want it to do, and that is the reason why you never colour with your alcohol markers on your best oak dining table, because it's just as likely to soak into your table as well. Let's put a few more dimensionals on the back of that one. Then I think we'll use some, I was going to say glue dots, I'm just looking around, where have my glue dots gone? Oh, there's my glue dot box. Have we dropped them on the floor? Am I staring at them? Aha, no, they're in the basket. Right, so let's, just going to put a little glue dot on the end of that leaf. We'll pop that one in there, and another glue dot there. And one more coming out there, I think. So there we are. There's a bit of funky ribbon, bit of flower arranging, and then if we have a look in with these sequins, there should be some sort of pinky colour ones in there. Let's see, do we want some pinky sequins? Let me get my no, I think that one's too blue. Let me have a look what other shiny pretty things I've got. No, those are too. Digging through my box of shinies. Ooh, got some self-adhesive petal pink shiny things there. Let's have some of those. We'll have one there and one there. And one more for luck tucked in there. So let's move some of this debris out of the way. So we can have a look at what we've created. Let's let the woods see the wood for the trees. So we have got this little easel card like this that obviously now is going to stand up like that. That's quite pretty, isn't it? I quite like that flash of yellow ribbon as well as that petal pink. Good choice, ladies, good choice. Right, so we have our little easel card, and then we have our little card that sort of is opening up like this. So two very different cards, two different shaped cards, both of them using this Perennial suite, this beautiful bundle of products, and both of you using these stitched labels as our base for our card shapes. And if we add into that collection that other little card, oh, Wendy, don't have your dinner burning. I'm hoping mine's cooking. Don't know about burning, I'm hoping it's cooking. I'm hoping Mike didn't just peel the potatoes, that he's actually put them on. We shall soon go and find out. Otherwise, we shall have a cooked sausage plat, but uncooked potatoes. So there we are. So there's three little cards, two different shaped ones using those stitched labels, and then the one that we did on Monday that cased the catalogue. So I hope you've enjoyed those. As I said, next week there will be videos, but you won't be able to help me choose the ribbon because I'm going to have to record them tomorrow, ready to go live next week. But I will certainly be then back the week after as normal. So have a really good week, everybody. Don't forget to go and book onto those classes that you fancy if you haven't done already, and do go and have a browse on there and see what things you fancy having a go at, and because there's lots of fabulous classes and things coming up in the next few weeks, months, in this lead up to Christmas, because the Christmas word is going to be well and truly everywhere by the time I get back from my holiday. So have a lovely evening, have a lovely rest of the week, and I will be back and see you shortly.